Alright, so let's talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Right, so you might notice it's just me, it's not Katie. Katie's not here because she hasn't watched it yet because she's a noob. First 10 minutes, I'm gonna try and make this video roughly 20 minutes long. The first 10 minutes will be spoiler free, second 10 minutes will be spoiler filled, so I'll give you a spoiler alert when we get to that point. But so this first 10 minutes is spoiler free. So first thing that needs to be said is this is head and shoulders above Joss Whedon's Justice League. Literally by far better. It is by far better. So I watched the full thing. I didn't give myself a choice. I just watched the full 4-hour thing. And then I went today, on the day that I've watched this, on the day that this gets uploaded, I then watched Joss Whedon's Justice League, and it's actually scary that it's so different, but the story is essentially the same. There's so much better character development for literally every character that's in it is better. And you know, one of the things that I get sort of crucified a lot by is I'm not a Zack Snyder fan. I don't like Zack Snyder's films because they all tend to be depressing and dreary. And this movie was sort of, but every single scene was really important and really cool. Like, everything was cool. As a superhero fan and a DC fan, quite honestly, everything was cool. Like, it was all great. Every character was fun. But what was good was, when you watch Joss Whedon's version, you can clearly see the scenes that Joss Whedon has done compared to the scenes that Zack Snyder's done. You can tell the difference. There's, to start off with, this isn't a spoiler, but it's just a piece of good news. There's no stupid mustache edit now. There's none of that stuff because that was stupid, and Zack didn't make that mistake. Then, Joss Whedon's got a very Disney style that everything has to be funny. Everything's got to be jokes. You know, and while that works for the Avengers, it doesn't work for the Justice League, and that's why the Justice League didn't work. You know, it was fine having just one character who was the humorous character, and it was the Flash. All the rest of them weren't that funny. Bruce Wayne makes a few jokes here and there, but Batman doesn't ever really make a joke. You know, he doesn't do that thing where he sort of sits up and goes, yeah, something's definitely bleeding. That doesn't happen, because why would you make a joke out of just nearly being killed by a metahuman? That's not a Batman thing to do. You would be going, holy hell, I just nearly had my spine broken in half by Superman. So none of that happens, and it's good that Zack Snyder had the nous to just say, right, okay, so Flash is our humorous character, that's it. None of the rest of them are humorous. But as I said, everything it looks good, considering that most of the footage was taken a few years ago. It looks good. Steppenwolf's a million times better, without spoiling anything, because I don't want to spoil anything, but straight away Steppenwolf feels like a big deal. Literally in the first scene that he's in, he feels like a big deal, a much bigger deal than he did in the Justice League. But I'm just going to try and sum up why most of the characters are good without spoiling anything. So Batman's good because he's made out to be the brain. That's like, you know, that's what he should be. You know, he can't stand next to these metahumans and pretend to be as strong as them. He has to have a different way, and he's so clever in this, and he's almost like the driving force. I think that's what, you know, he's desperate for them to come together because of the mistake that he made in Batman vs Superman. Aquaman, who should be what he is in this movie, is that sort of rogue, the outsider almost of the group, where he doesn't necessarily fit in with the rest of them. He says no to the surface as much as he says no to Atlantis. You know, he does seem like that sort of roguish character, which, you know, it's why he was cast, because he looks like, you know, I'm not trying to diss on Jason Momoa, but that's what you would think. Obviously, he seems like a very nice bloke. You know, don't kill me, Jason Momoa. But he's that's the kind of character that he plays in this movie, and it's a really good one. Wonder Woman is exactly what Wonder Woman should have been before. She is sort of, she almost takes the reins over when Superman is dead. Like, she saves people, as you see in the Justice League, and you see in this, she saves the children from the terrorists. She's that action. There's a very cool action scene with her in the beginning, and it's really, really cool. Which is essentially like the leader of the League, like with Batman. They're both sort of the leaders, and she's also the one who's got all the ancient historical knowledge. I struggled getting that sentence out, and that's good. That's what she would be because she's from that world. Again, as I've said, Flash is the humorous character, as he should be, but he's also given a lot more in this film than he ever was in the Justice League. His character's so much more fleshed out. I'm going to have a quick drink. He is funny. His backstory's explored a bit more, as it should be. And he is essentially almost us, that he's viewing this world through. We're viewing the world through his eyes almost, and it's really cool. And he doesn't. There's not so much of his ridiculous running, like he does in this thing. It's like the McGregor sort of warm up that McGregor did when he was fighting Mayweather. This ridiculous sort of run that he does. He doesn't do that very much. He does it I think once. As far as there was 4 hours, I can't remember. But he doesn't do it every single. He doesn't do it all the time. Cyborg was probably by far the most improved character. He's just a sort of a spare part in the Justice League. In this, he's a fully fleshed out character. His origins explored. He's his motivations, everything about him is so much better in this version. And Superman, obviously, as we all know, he does come back. The best thing about this film, and we said it in the trailer reactions, you're made to feel like the world is almost lost without him. He's hyped to the moon and back. The level of power that he has, it's like the first hour is just almost dedicated to everyone going, oh my god, Superman's dead. What are we supposed to do without Superman? And the world's a darker place without Superman. There's so much more death because Superman isn't here, and hope. We don't have hope without Superman, and it's so I love. It's one of my favorite things about this. The biggest takeaway from it is that was what they did with Superman. And I've always said that he was killed too early. If the plan was to have an extended superhero universe, I always said that Superman was killed too early. In the last movie, he shouldn't have been killed that early. But he's taken that and he's ran with it, and it has worked. It does work in this movie with him being dead. So the other characters that are in it, without spoiling anything, obviously Lois Lane is in it, and she is sort of made to feel like she can't really live without Superman. But whereas in Justice League's version, it's sort of hammered. She's like, I wasn't strong, and all that stuff. She doesn't say that, she's not dead inside without him or all like that. But she's struggling to come to terms with the fact that he's dead. It's still she doesn't go to work and stuff like that. And that's that's fair enough. She was in love with the guy. I mean, Henry Cavill, of course she would be. Other characters, Alfred, Jeremy Irons was absolutely brilliant. It was. When I found out that Jeremy Irons was going to be Alfred, I wasn't all that fussed. Like in Batman vs Superman, I wasn't all that fussed because I thought Michael Caine was the best and will never be surpassed. I still do, but for what it's worth, he's a bloody good Alfred. I have to give it to the man. He's obviously a talented actor, but he is a bloody good Alfred as well. Mera. What can I say about her character? It's okay. The one playing her, not so much. Who else? Who else is there? I suppose the other one that we should really talk about is probably Darkseid. And all the people who try to give this movie grief because he didn't look like Darkseid, completely in complete shambles. He was awesome. The little that he was in it, he was absolutely awesome. Every scene that he was in seemed like a big deal because he was in it. It's just sort of, yeah, it's mad. It's mad to think that he's not even. He's mentioned once or twice in the Justice League, but he's not shown remotely. This movie did the right thing by having. He was in the perfect amount. He wasn't in too much, and he was sort of like while half the movie was hyping up Superman and the world without Superman, the other half was going, right, okay, this is the polar opposite. This is what we should all be scared of, because if he comes, there's no winning without Superman. And it was that sort of balancing act that the movie tried to do and did do. Quite honestly, it succeeded. It did it really well. So now I'm going to head into spoiler territory. So be warned. Stop texting me. I hope you got the big thing. Right. Okay. So favorite scenes. There's a lot of good scenes in this movie that are miles better than the Justice League. As I've already said, it's head and shoulders above the Justice League. So when Steppenwolf arrives and fights the Amazonians, it's made out to be a gigantic deal. You know, and literally nothing can stop them. All the Amazonians sort of jump on him, and they can't stop him. No one can stop him. It doesn't, like, even Diana fights him at one point and she can't beat him. The only time he's ever beaten, again, is when Superman arrives, which is fair enough. But it's not like sort of only Superman. They all still have to fight him in order to beat him. The stakes for Cyborg were much higher. Like, everything was more important in Cyborg's character. Firstly, because he was the only one technically who could defuse the Unity. He could stop the Unity between the three mother boxes. But he also had a quick glimpse, like a nightmare sequence like Batman has, but like a tinier one. And it was absolutely fantastic. I don't mind saying it, it was fantastic, the shot, because it shoots backwards and forwards. So again, you have all been spoiled. So it shows Diana being burned, like her sort of funeral almost, and it shows a potential for Superman to turn on the rest of the League. And it's a brilliant shot. That shot that was in the trailer of the big Omega sign in the desert, with all the world engines sort of shooting down, and then there's sort of Superman holding Batman's cowl. And I assume it's supposed to be the shot just after he's taken the cowl off and he's like lasered him. That was in Batman vs Superman. Brilliant shot that was. I have to say one of my favourites was the Age of Heroes, the story. Instead of being like a 2-minute anecdote, it was like a 20-minute anecdote. And it was awesome. Ares was in it, who's the one who actually wounds Darkseid and forces him to retreat. And yeah, that entire scene was brilliant. The action was cool, the fighting was cool. Darkseid seemed like a big scary monster, and it took everyone to beat him, which is exactly what it should be. You know, if Darkseid's going to get beat, you need like a hell of a lot of people to beat him. The final battle, first thing what I will say is Martian Manhunter seems really cool. He's only in 2 scenes, as far as I see. He's only in 2 scenes, and you know, he's cool. He's cool. What can I say? He looks cool. Fair enough. Every single character had a chance to be cool in the final battle. All of them were important at one point or another, including Batman, which is a good thing, because in the Justice League, Batman throughout the entire movie is pointless. He might as well not be there. But in this, every character seemed to be important. Sorry. Yeah, so the final battle was miles better, because in the Justice League, the way it ends obviously is it's a very Disney way. We don't see Steppenwolf being killed. We just see him being sort of floated off with his parademons because they feed on fear and he's scared of the League and all that rubbish. But in this, again, spoiler alert, what actually happens is he gets his head cut off. They all sort of team up. Superman lasers a part of his head off. Then Aquaman stabs him. He gets punched back towards Darkseid, who's in like a portal. I forgot what the portal's called. You'll have to forgive me. I've forgotten all the technical terms. And Diana chops his head off, and the head sort of goes to Darkseid. And because Darkseid is Darkseid, he stops the head with his foot and then squishes the head. It's, like I said, it's definitely a Zack Snyder movie, so it doesn't hold up on blood. You know, again with and injuries and stuff, it's good because it's more realistic in that in the Justice League, you know, when a character gets hurt, they trip over and they sprain an ankle, and that's it. It's a very Disney way of making it, and the DC universe blends itself better to be in like a Zack Snyder style, which is good. So the last thing I'll say is I'm going to talk about the nightmare sequence that comes at the end. So Zack Snyder recently came out and said that if there was a second movie, it would take place predominantly in the nightmare storyline, and it makes it clear that the reason Superman turns on the League is because Lois is killed, which obviously that makes sense. But it also hints that it's probably the Joker that caused it. It caused that to happen to her. And in this nightmare sequence, Superman's wearing his red suit, not his black suit. So it's interesting that when he's the good guy and he's helping them and he's fighting them, he's in the black suit, and in the nightmare sequence when he's the bad guy, he's in the red suit. Just interesting. Just an interesting thing that I happened to spot. Yeah. So there was a thing where I wasn't entirely sure, so maybe you can let me know down in the comments what you thought. So there's a bit where Batman essentially threatens the Joker. He basically says that he'll kill him. He says at some point that when he was, I think he said something like, when he was talking to Lois, he promised her that when he kills him, and he will kill him, he'll kill him slowly. So I didn't know if that was meant to be like a sort of, because then the Joker says, you almost got me. And I was kind of like, I didn't fully understand what the point was. I assume it was meant to be like a sort of the Joker and Batman basically saying, alright, well, Batman's never going to kill me. We all know he's never going to kill me. He's not that kind of guy. Well, he is, because in Batman vs Superman, he was killing people left, right and centre. But if it was just a face value thing and that he was saying, I will eventually kill you, you know, then I don't really approve. Because, you know, call me old fashioned, I don't like Batman killing people. I've never liked it. Even if it is in the nightmare sequence in this timeline where, you know, Earth has been lost to Darkseid. You know, it's a small thing. It's a small thing. Another thing I'll say is the bat suit is very well explained, like why you can like deflect stuff with his what are they called, braces. Because Alfred sort of, who is an inventor, happens to create this thing where it can like absorb energy, and he uses it against Superman, but it doesn't really work against Superman because he's Superman, for God's sake. So one other thing that I will say, and this will be the last point that I make, this definitely deserves a sequel. Above all else, Zack Snyder has proved that he can create a superhero universe with coherent characters. This accompanied with the movies that would have came after it had this been the Justice League Part 1. Movies like Wonder Woman and was Wonder Woman, yeah, okay, so let's just say Wonder Woman came before. I'm assuming it came before, I can't really remember. But Aquaman, I should really have Googled this, shouldn't I? Should I Google it? No, I'm not going to Google it. Anyway, all the movies that came after it, and it sets up a good precedent for movies to come after this one. Because it makes it very blatantly clear that Darkseid isn't finished, and he's going to come for Earth at some point, which is good. So, if I was to say anything else, I would say that, restore the Snyderverse. You know, I'm not going to leap up in the air and scream or anything like that. The guy's earned himself the right to make his own, universe. Instead of calling it all the DCAU, as I've already said, there's going to be different universes. Just let him have his own, where he follows these particular versions of these characters. Use Flash as your sort of intermediary between other universes, which is, fair enough, because that's what he is. And yeah, let him have his own universe. Let him make a second part of this. I'd quite happily sit through another 4 hours of, if it was like that, I'd quite happily sit through another 4 hours. And my score, which might be a bit, to some people, is 8.5 out of 10. Considering the Justice League was about a 6 out of 10. 2.5 higher than that one. Don't know how I would improve it, to be honest. I'm not going to sit here and say it was perfect. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely worth the wait. I think that was the biggest worry for me, was that we'd been waiting for it for so long. If it had been underwhelming, I would have been disappointed, and everyone would have been disappointed. But it wasn't underwhelming; it was very good. And Zack Snyder should be proud of himself, and all the DC fans who were going on about restoring this version should also be very proud of themselves, because if this is the end result, it's a good end result. So well done to you lot. I wasn't one of those people, because I'm not a big fan of Zack Snyder, if I'm honest. Not the guy. His movies, I don't really like his style, but this movie's a really good movie. So fair play to him. Fair play to him, and fair play to you all. Well done. Let me know down in the comments what you thought, what score you would give it. Should there be more movies? Should he have his own universe? Who's your favourite character? I don't know any other questions. What was your favourite scene? Let me know down in the comments. Also, like the video because it helps. Subscribe. Hit the little bell to be notified when we upload. We upload every day. And yeah, thank you for watching, and restore the Snyderverse. I need to know.